Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video with just 2 weeks left of the summer transfer window. It's clear that Newcastle want to try and bring in a left back before the window slams shut at the end of this month. It's a position we've been talking about all summer long. To be fair, we've been talking about it all season long. We've been linked with a handful of players, but as of this afternoon, have Newcastle found their new number one target for the left-back position, as reported by Sky Sports and a number of other outlets. It is Lewis Hall, the 18-year-old left-back from Chelsea that Newcastle have been linked with already this window. It sounded like that one had gone a little bit quiet. To be honest, it was rumoured that Lewis Hall was actually set to sign a new 6-year deal with Chelsea and committing his future to the club. I've seen reports saying that he didn't sign it, but Fabrizio Romano said as of today that that contract was signed. He did sign a new 6-year deal, but that Chelsea were still open to offers and that Newcastle were still pursuing the player. I have to say, of the players Newcastle have been linked with over the last week or so, he's the one that does excite me the most. 18-year-old, I think he turns 19 in a month or so's time, but great talent, and that's what Newcastle are doing right now. We are looking to bring in young players to play behind, learn from the current squad, so that in a year, 2 year, 3 year, we are building this squad over time. And it's being said as of this evening that Chelsea are open to offers of around £30 million for the player. And that they are open to selling the player to Newcastle United. So you can have your thoughts on Lewis Hall down in the comments below. As I've said, Newcastle are being clever with what they do. And Eddie Howe's looking to, not just build the team for right now, but build it over the next few years. But what I think he wants the most is diversity in players, in player type. What can players do? What are they good at? Who can do this? Who can do that? I think it's really interesting with the right-back position, with Trippier number one, Livramento coming in behind. Trippier is the player who will pass the ball forward. Trippier will run it to the middle, he'll pass it in, he'll get it back, he'll pass it to the right, he'll go around, he'll pass it in, and it's all about pass and move with Trippier. Livramento is, again, coming in to learn behind Trippier. Hopefully will build up his game time to hopefully build up more game time next year. Possibly, the most exciting young right-back talent in the country right now that we've brought in. But what he also does differently is he carries the ball, close-knit with the ball, and he's quick, he's pacey, he'll carry the ball up the pitch. So you look at Isak and Wilson, Barnes and Gordon, Murphy and Almiron, 6, 7 centre midfield. We've got options in those positions, and I think what Eddie Howe wants is the same in the left-back. And it's not just to, I wouldn't even say necessarily replace Dan Burn. I would say it's to bring in a different dynamic to that left-back position. I think Dan Burn is very good in the air. I think he's very good defensively. Him versus Target in terms of going forward, I would say possibly both are a little bit limited. But what I would say is that of the pair, although Dan Burn does love his bombing runs, is pass and move, get the ball, especially Target is a very passing player, kind of pass and possibly bombs on less than Dan Burn does. But what Lewis Hall does that's different to them two is, like Livramento, is very ball in, very much into feet, and will run with the ball. It almost looks like the ball is glued to his foot. He's a very exciting talent. His dad's a Newcastle fan, so is he. So that's always going to help as well. But I can see why it's a player Newcastle are interested in, for the reason that he's adding that different dynamic to the team, but he's also adding, the option of really making things happen in the future as well. When he starts to progress, as he starts to learn under Eddie Howe, it's a real talent we've got there. He has been linked to Crystal Palace on loan previously. He had been linked to a loan move to Newcastle previously. When Fabrizio Romano posted about the fact that Newcastle were linked with him, Chelsea fans were and this isn't for the whole Chelsea fan base, by the way, so if you're a Chelsea fan who's found this, let me know your thoughts on it down below. Lots of Chelsea fans saying, yeah, loan him to Newcastle, loan him out, let him get some experience, let him learn under Eddie Howe, then bring him back. And I can see why a Chelsea fan would be happy with that. I would be surprised if Chelsea did loan us the player. I don't know why they would choose to loan him to us rather than Palace, where A, he's closer at home to keep an eye on, and B, help Newcastle be better. I think Chelsea, if anything, would do everything they can to try and stop us from being better. And that's when you kind of look into what Newcastle's options are in that left-back market, because we have been also looking to bring in Tierney from Arsenal. We've also been looking at Cucurella, the other left-back from Chelsea. And I suppose that depends what Eddie Howe wants. Does Eddie Howe want to bring in a left-back and Lewis Hall who will learn behind Dan Burn, or does he want to look at replacing Dan Burn? Tierney, I think, is probably, of the few we've mentioned, I think possibly the most suited right now to just walk into that team. Unless Eddie Howe has the confidence that Lewis Hall at the age of 18, 19 is to go, right, let's bring him in, let's play him. I think of the players we've mentioned, I think Tierney is the one that Eddie Howe could go, right, pick up, drop, in at left back, has the high work rate. Other than the injury stuff, I think is probably the player that is most likely to kind of fit in straight away. Unless, we know that Eddie Howe likes Dan Burn. There's a reason he's played him there. There's a reason he has continued to stick with Dan Burn. And I think it's because he likes him. I think he likes his work rate. Is Eddie Howe looking to replace Dan Burn right now with a Tierney, or is he looking to bring in someone for the future? Well, it would suggest that as of this afternoon that it is that one. It is that Newcastle are looking to bring in a Lewis Hall to build behind Burn to hopefully play on through. Now, in terms of payments, what's going on? Well, it was said that Newcastle were in discussions with the likes of Cucurella, Tierney, and now Lewis Hall over the option of loans. Because Newcastle, unlike Chelsea, by the way, who can apparently spend anything they want, Newcastle are within the restrictions, whatever they are, of FFP. So we've been talking about loan deals. The one that's really starting to rise now, and it was actually said for Tierney a couple of days ago, it would seem it's very similar for Lewis Hall, that Newcastle are looking at a loan, but with an obligation to buy. What this would mean is that Newcastle take Hall or take Tierney for a season, and at the end of the season, we would pay that 30 million that it appears that Newcastle and Chelsea would want for their respective players. It means that we aren't paying any money now, but it means that Chelsea and Arsenal will be guaranteed their fee at the end of that loan move. I suppose the risk is if we have them on a loan and then they're not any good, and we're going, do we still have to pay them that 30 million? You could try and stick some clauses in there to say that we will be obligated to buy as long as they play this many games, or they do this, or Newcastle qualifies for Champions League again, and then we will pay it. Have some drop barriers in there so that if it maybe doesn't go to plan, then we aren't still stuck with it. But I think Lewis Hall is one that you wouldn't really know after a season anyway. I think it's someone that has got a clear talent, and under Eddie Howe over, who knows, maybe in a year, but I'm thinking 2 years, 3 years, you'll really start to pull through. And it's crazy, if you look at it like the likes of Livramento, we've got this great team with just sticking with defenders for a start, or even, Callum Wilson up front, Trippier right back, Burn, Shaw. These guys are all over 30, and then behind them, you've got Isak, 23, Livramento, 21, Lewis Hall, 19, Botman, 23. We've almost got these, and then the midfield is just a complete range of ages, but you've almost got these players have got such great experience, are now sort of slowly handing on the torch to the player coming in behind them, and I think that's why Lewis Hall would be a great fit to the kind of young team that we are trying to build through into the squad. So let me know your thoughts down below on Lewis Hall. Is he the player that you would be interested in? Do you think that bringing someone young through behind Burn is the way to go? Or do you think we need to just be going, look, get Tierney in, get another left back in, because I would prefer to move Burn into that, him and Botman on the left-hand side of the defence. We need an actual left back who can play there for the season. But regardless, it's interesting news. It's interesting to hear that Chelsea are, putting it out there that he is for sale. 30 million Would they allow us to have him on a loan for a year before we pay that 30 million, or is there a deal to be done? Let me know your thoughts on the left back options down below. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your evening, and I'll catch you later.